absolutely delighted to welcome to the Foreign Office Sir Nicholas Stern and Siobhan Peters, and is Sulene here as well? Yes, Sulene Garbett as well, from the review team. It's pretty evident from the packed room that we have here, standing room only, that the Stern Review and the opportunity to hear firsthand from Nick about the work that he's been engaged on over the last few months is of immense interest and relevance to the FCO, and it's terrific as well that we've got, I think, 25 posts who are listening in to the presentation today. I think we could have sold the tickets for the event 3 or 4 times over. I'm going to ask Nick to kick off more or less immediately, but just a couple of words by way of introduction. Sir Nicholas Stern was the World Bank Chief Economist, as you'll know, and he is the government's Chief Economist. And his report has, I think, transformed the economic debate around climate change. But it's not the only debate that he has transformed over the last 2 years, because he was absolutely instrumental as well in the production of the Commission for Africa report, which transformed the debate about Africa and development last year. And they are 2 incredible things to have in your CV, I must say. As far as the FCO is concerned, the review itself is going to be already, it's a tremendous tool for us, and posts are very actively engaged in trying to build on the attention that and interest that the report has generated. We've already had a flood of reports back about the impacts that it's having locally, analysing the impacts, and how posts are seeking to capitalise on that. And we might say a little bit about that as we go through. But that's all I wanted to say by way of introduction, because we've come to hear you, not me. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back in this room. I think the last time I was in this room, we had a really interesting interchange on India, which I enjoyed very much, and it's very appropriate for this India room. India office, is it, in the Foreign Office? So it's lovely to be back amongst you. And I should say at the beginning that Siobhan Peters, who led the team, and myself and other members of the team were on the road for a fair bit of the preparation of the story, and we had tremendous support from the posts. And the kind of interactions we had whilst we were on the road had quite a strong influence on the way in which we expressed ourselves, and the way indeed in which we understood the problem and what was possible. It's basically a fairly optimistic story in the sense that I'll describe, that if we want to do something as a world, then we can actually be quite effective in heading off the major risks. But it's hard because it involves international collective action, and that's where the Foreign Office, of course, is absolutely central to the whole story of trying to use the report and its arguments to help take action forward on an international scale. And perhaps in the discussion it would be good to focus on, or you focus on whatever you like, but focus on that particular issue of how we build international collective action. Those of you who saw Martin Wolf's piece in the FT today will see that he's very pessimistic about the chances of putting something together. I'm much less pessimistic, and it certainly would be derelict not to try. So how we do it, I think, would be great to talk about when I briefly introduced what I have to say. I'll talk for about 15 minutes, if that's all right, and I'll say roughly the kinds of things I said at the launch. But I did have a written statement for the launch, which I read out since I was squashed between the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, and I wanted to be sure I said what I wanted to say and did it in the time. But here I hope we can be a little bit more relaxed. So I won't read out what I said, although I'll speak, of course, to it, because I'll be using the same slides as I used at the launch. Now, we start all this with, obviously, with the science. And it's the science that shapes the economics. Now, in the jargon of economics, what we've got here is an externality, in the sense that when you or I or anybody else engages in an action, consuming or producing, that emits carbon, then we affect the atmosphere for everybody else. That's true of all of us, and carbon emitted in Australia is the same as carbon emitted in the UK. So we all contribute in some way or other to the problem, and we don't pay, at least not yet, do we pay fully for the damage that we cause. So that's a market failure in the jargon of economics, arising from an unpriced externality. So that's the basic standard starting point in environmental economics, really, for this kind of problem. But this isn't a standard problem in externalities. It's different in